Welcome back to Sikh Meets World. I'm Sean Singh Kumar, and I'm joined by Gurwant Singh Lahujja, and we're the co-founders of the National Sikh Campaign. In this episode, we got to do an interview together for the first time, and it's a conversation with Dr. Rajwant Singh, who is the other co-founder of the National Sikh Campaign, and someone who's dedicated most of their life to Sikh awareness and Sikh advocacy and improving our community's standing here in the United States. It's a really wide-ranging conversation touching on his life from immigration to here in the United States to where he is now as a successful dentist and someone who's really taking on a lot of the challenges our community has faced. And we did this interview prior to the PR Week Award Gala in New York City in March of 2017. And we did this because, it was a really celebratory time for us because later that night, we won the Best for a Cause award, which was an incredible experience and really showed that our work, in raising awareness of Sikhism through modern marketing mediums is something that is truly remarkable. And so it was an awesome night, and I think he really gave us a deep understanding of his life and what he's hoping to accomplish with his work. Gurwant, what were your thoughts on the conversation?
Yeah, just to piggyback on the PR Week Award, that for many people may not know is the most significant award in the PR and marketing industry. So we were competing against some big brands. But on the conversation, it was super interesting because we've worked with Dr. Rajwant for a number of years, and I don't think we even knew his full story. And when we were talking to him, it's actually astonishing because you recognize how he, as an individual, has made such a significant impact on the Sikh community. And he's used his leadership skills and his proximity to DC to get Sikh and Sikh-Americans in front of some of the most powerful people in the world. And it's a really interesting story to see how a young, ambitious grad student who immigrated to the United States went from a scrappy kid to meeting with world leaders and presidents and truly becoming a global leader.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a remarkable conversation, and I think he takes on a lot of the challenges that he had faced, whether that was pushback from the community or in political settings. He just gave us a fresh scoop on his life and career. And I think this conversation is really engaging in that way. Another big thing that he's focused on right now is Guru Nanak's Gurpurab, his 550th, and the release of a documentary on Guru Nanak's life that will be distributed by PBS and televisions around the world and primarily in the United States, of course. Really interesting just hearing about his focus on that and what he's hoping to accomplish in 2019. So without a further ado, our conversation with Dr. Rajwant Singh. I think I want to take it back and really give people an idea of who you are as a person and where you came from. A lot of people I think would be surprised to know, but you're from Calcutta, India. You were born there. Why were you born in Calcutta and not Punjab or?
Well, my grandfather had moved from Sangrur, Punjab to Calcutta, and he had a transport business. And then my father became a medical doctor. So he opened up his practice and decided to stay there. And that's where I was born.
Oh, awesome. So you moved to the United States then in 1979.
Yes.
And you were only 17 years old.
Yes.
So how was it like assimilating in the United States at that time and that age? What did it mean to have a turban at that time and that age? Actually, that was the same year my father moved, 1979, now that I'm thinking about it. Yes. So America was a very different place.
Yes, Jimmy Carter was the president, and sooner I reached here, there was a Iranian hostage crisis. And, we saw it was happening, and then we saw how it started to have an impact on the Sikh community because of Ayatollah's turban, and that was the first time sort of the American public saw a figure which had anti-Americanism and Western hate being spewed out by a turban-wearing mullah. So that had a major negative impact on Sikhs. And I remember that we would deliberately choose not to wear a black turban, because it will be closely associated with the Ayatollahs. And I did not speak that much English at that time because I had come from Calcutta, so I went to Northern Virginia Community College, learned, went through all my basic education there, and slowly, started trying to understand how the American culture and this whole nation works.
Did you face any prejudice or racism that you can remember, any experiences, and how did you overcome that?
Barely 2 or 3 times I heard people saying, "Hey, Ayatollah, go back." Those are the kinds of things that I heard in school or walking down the street, but no violent activity against any of the Sikh community at that time. So at least I don't remember of any.
Okay, well that's better than some of the times we have now, actually.
Yes.
That actually brings an interesting point. Do you think it's better now, almost 40 years later, or do you think it's backslided?
Well, there are more Sikhs now and more organized community, and we are playing more prominent role. So there's more awareness. But at that time, people identified Sikhs mostly with India. Any turban-wearing person would easily be associated with India. That's what the perception was. Of course, the little kids would say, "Hey, genie," or whatever. How the cartoons would play Sikhs or turban-wearing person being a genie. So that you will hear in the supermarket from the kids or when you were walking down the street. But generally, people had a very positive view about somebody wearing a turban.
I'm sure 9/11 flipped the script in a lot of ways.
Yes.
Yeah. So after finishing community college in Northern Virginia, you decided to pursue dentistry. How was that process, and how did you end up choosing dentistry to be your profession?
Yes, well, because of my family background, that my father was a medical doctor.
Oh, okay.
And I wanted to be in the medical field. But when I came here in this country, when I saw that a medical doctor has a very, very busy life, and I really wanted to have a comfortable living and social status, but at the same time, I wanted to be involved and doing things for the community or for the faith. So I did not want to be completely consumed by a career. So when I saw my uncle, Dr. Amarjit Singh Marwa, I visited him, and I kind of liked the kind of lifestyle he had. And so I felt that the schedule is better being a dentist. It's a 9-to-5 job. There are less emergencies, and you don't have to work on the weekends.
Yeah.
So that kind of fit my idea of a professional life. At the same time, I could balance with my being involved in the community.
Yeah, and your vision is correct. I mean, look what you're doing today.
Yes, and I'm glad I chose that path.
So you, like you said, you wanted to get involved, and that was your mission one of your missions when you became a dentist. But what really genuinely got you inspired to be involved with the Sikh community?
When I was 11 years old, I attended this Sikh camp in a place called Paonta Sahib, which is a place where Guru Gobind Singh Ji lived there for 2 years and kind of prepared himself to ultimately form Khalsa in 1699. So that period where he lived in Paonta Sahib, I was there for 10 days. And that kind of changed my life. I really got connected with Sikhi. And I was at that time 11 years old. And I took Amrit, and I became very, very heavily charged up Sikh boy. And then I started reading Sikh history, Sikh books, and there were a lot of prominent Sikh personalities who kind of encouraged me, and some of them wanted me to pursue my career in journalism or whatever. But that at that time, I kind of started realizing that, we have such a wonderful faith, and we should be able to, tell other people how wonderful this whole set of philosophy is, and how do we spread the word, and how do we really motivate young people to be involved. So then I became part of the Sikh Student Federation, and then in 1978 there was a violent clash between Sikhs and Nirankaris, and I was, kind of really shaken by that incident, and that Sikh community also was shaken by that. So right during that time, I was becoming kind of a rebellious kind of a Sikh boy. Normally all, Sikh young people or any, community has young people who get charged up, and I felt that that the Sikh community is not being or treated well or with respect. So that was the drive when I came to this country, and I started this whole crisis of Ayatollah and Sikhs being kind of taunted or told all kinds of things. So all of that really worked to create a sense for me to say that we need to do something to have our presence. So yeah, that's the motivating factor.
What was your inspiration or reason to kind of get involved at a local level here in America?
Well, I got involved in the local Gurdwara in Silver Spring, Guru Nanak Foundation. That was the only Gurdwara at that time. Although there was a smaller Gurdwara in DC, the Military Road Gurdwara. But I came and I used to do Kirtan. So people liked my Kirtan, and they would
you have a beautiful voice.
Yeah, thank you. And they would encourage me. I was just a young boy, so people, were fascinated by a young person who had just come from India doing Kirtan. So I got a lot of encouragement, and I used to play tabla. In fact, I was there was another gentleman. We were the only two people who would play tabla in the whole Washington, D.C. area in the Sikh community. So people would, request me or ask me to come and play tabla for them. So that, right there, it just, I started getting plugged in very heavily in the affairs of the Sikh community. And then there was no youth organization. There was no youth a group which would bring young people together. And there were very, very few. So I, decided that we should form a youth organization. So we called it Sikh Youth Association. And we held the first event at the Guru Nanak Foundation. That was in 1981. And we had a wonderful participation from the local Sikh youth from across the Washington, D.C. area. And then we've continued to have this organization, have meetings, regular activities. We will do some get-togethers. So that started defining me as a kind of, this
community organizer.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. So I would make calls, I would send out letters or whatever. So that helped me to develop my skills as an organizer. Yeah.
So when you started getting involved in politics, that's, I feel like, when you really started making your mark, not just in Maryland, but really across the United States and really around the world. So for many Sikhs, they really got to know your name once you were invited to the White House by Bill Clinton in 1993. How did that happen? Like, how did you get that invitation? And can you also, one thing that after working with you for a few years now, me and Sean, one thing that you've done very well that I have not seen anyone else do is leverage those relationships at the White House and Capitol Hill to put on events for the community that really raises a community's profile and really creates buzz around the world. So how did you get that first invitation, and how did you know, and how did you plan to leverage that?
Well, I think we have to go back a little bit because right after I got involved with the youth activities in the local Gurdwara, Then 1984 attack at the Golden Temple took place. That really changed a lot of things for the Sikh community globally, and of course the community was affected here. I remember we organized I was the one who organized the very first demonstration against the Indian embassy, Indian government here in the United States, in Washington, D.C. And several demonstrations took place, and I organized it. But one thing which really kind of changed my line of thinking and the way I would do work is we organized a prayer service for the victims of the massacres in Delhi in 1984. We organized an event at the American University, and we sent out almost 200 invitations to non-Sikhs, to all kinds of public officials, elected officials, interfaith leaders, any prominent person that we could think of. We sent out handwritten invitation cards and delivered them personally. So when the day of the event, we were expecting that we would have a good presence, but practically no one showed up.
Oh, wow.
Oh, man.
That was a shocking thing for me. We felt that here we are. We had in June, we had an attack at the Golden Temple. Our community was victimized, and all over the world we were shown as being terrorists. And then we were, we had another incident of our community being massacred in India, and especially in Delhi. And, people could see how we were victims. But still, there was no wave of sympathy, or there was no understanding of who we are. There was, in fact, so much misunderstanding about our community being seen as a violent community, as killers or terrorists and all that. So that's where I kind of felt that this is just, we're going in the wrong direction. We need to do something about that. So that propelled me personally to start looking for other ways of engaging with the non-Sikhs. So that's how I got introduced to the Interfaith Conference of Metropolitan Washington. And in 1987, we became the very first Sikh community to become member of the Interfaith group, which was a organized group in Washington, D.C.
Right.
And then in 1988, we took part in the first Interfaith concert. I organized that. I was the main singer. We had 36 doing a rehearsal for many weeks, and we did a pretty good show there. And that was televised, and it was all over on the radio. So that helped us to become part of a larger interfaith coalition. And similarly, then doors opened for us to be part of other interfaith groups here and locally and nationally, where we could be, playing a part in tackling any issue which was facing America. So Bill Clinton had just become president, and there was a coalition working for the Religious Freedom Restoration Act, RFRA. And they wanted a Sikh participation. They wanted all religions to be part of this coalition. So we became part of the coalition, and we also went around lobbying for the passage of this bill, which would help the community, Sikh community, as well as all the faith communities, to have more religious freedom. So that bill was passed, and then the White House wanted to invite all the leaders who had helped in the passage of that bill. That's how I got the invitation to be invited by President Bill Clinton. I think probably that was the first time any Sikh was invited to the White House.
You've faced backlash for having this connection to the White House through various administrations, whether that's the Clinton administration, Bush administration, and even the Obama administration. Why do you think that was? Why do you think there was animosity towards you having that tie and pushing the Sikh agenda here in America through that channel?
Well, most people actually were very happy that there is some Sikh presence, and people were happy that I was in Washington. I had the easy access to be involved with the White House, whether it's the Clinton administration and then the Bush administration. of course, being involved, gives you prominence, gives you exposure in the media, newspaper articles, whatever. So, of course, there are some people who feel, why is he the one? Why isn't there somebody else? Or why is he why is he the only one who's being invited again and again? But again, the field is wide open. Anybody can call, anybody can get involved, anybody can be invited. But one should be willing to put in the time and effort and energy to be representing and doing these things for the community. So I have been doing that, so that's how I get invited. But sometimes being involved in any situation also involves taking decisions, and sometimes those decisions are not acceptable to all of the community members. For example, right after 9/11, we needed to be in the White House. And of course, Kirpan is not allowed in the White House. So a few groups or few individuals would make a big deal that why Rajwant Singh or anybody else who's going to the White House, why are they not making a big issue about that the Kirpan should be allowed for an Amritari or somebody who is wearing that. I'm an Amritari Sikh, but I felt that it was just, we have a larger issue in our hand, which was to really get our identity being accepted and respected by the power brokers.
And broadcasted.
We need a foot in the door.
Yeah, we need a foot in the door. And if we start making a Kirpan as an issue, then we will go nowhere, because Secret Service is not going to allow. So I had to make decisions at critical times to say, we have to get the function done, or we have to get the event done, regardless whether we are, whether we are able to wear Kirpan or not. And White House was willing to make all kinds of accommodations to get us, an event or a statement or a meeting. So I felt that it was in the larger interest for the community to go ahead with such engagement, and then still continue to work with the White House or the Secret Service or other security agencies to give us the exceptions or privileges. And but unfortunately, the atmosphere after 9/11 and subsequent violence against America and Americans, this is a very, very difficult and challenging issue, which I think we continue to grapple with. But it's not that I'm doing it out of pleasure, but I think we have to keep the focus on making sure that our community's interests are promoted and protected by our engagement.
Right.
Yeah. Well, you laid the foundation for men like Gerwin wearing turbans in the White House.
Oh, that's very
true. Gerwin, how many turbans or bugs did you see in your few years at the White House?
Probably 3 max. Including myself.
Hey, that's more than...
Yeah, that's true. You know what? I didn't even think of that until you just said that just now. I didn't even think of that. And I think that is a major contribution. And just to go back to the Bill Clinton thing, the first time I met you was at Obama's second inauguration.
Yes.
And I went home and I told my mom that I had met you. And I told my grandfather, too. And they said, oh, Dr. Rajwant Singh, he knows the Clintons very well. And there's a very interesting story with you and Hillary Clinton, but we'll get to that in a second. The one thing I want to state, having worked in the White House to affirm what you're saying, is that a lot of times the White House is looking for communities to be engaged and work with them. And a location is important because a lot of their staff can't fly around everywhere. So if you're local to DC and you have an issue and you're able to credibly organize around it, they actually want to hear from you.
Yes.
So it is a lot of it is showing up. But one thing I think that would be interesting is and a lot of people would, I think, take interest in this, is what was it like to work with the Clinton, Bush, and Obama administrations? Could you describe some of their different cultures very quickly? And then I want to get into the Hillary story.
Okay. Well, the Clinton administration, that was our first engagement. We organized... I put together a first briefing at the White House. That was in 1998.
But what was their person? What was like every administration has a personality.
Yeah.
What were the personalities of the three administrations?
He just wants you to say that the Obama administration was the best.
Yeah, that's true. But for real.
Well, the Clinton White House was, I would say, was very welcoming.
Mm-hmm.
And, I remember Flo McAfee, she was the religious liaison. And I invited her to come to my house for dinner. And we talked about, the things that we are trying to do and we were looking to do. And they were very, very welcoming. And she would really wanted to see the Sikh presence at the White House. And then along with her, Alexis Harman, she was the labor secretary. And first she was the head of the liaison office. They all really were pushing us to be seen equally respected as the other Christian groups or, there were Jewish groups. There weren't too many other communities. I can't think of a Hindu community or any other community doing any major events. But we had. The Sikh community was given an opportunity to have the briefing. We had 150 people from all over United States were welcomed for the very first time by the Clinton administration, and it was a very, very homely environment. It was very it was not like a very regimented atmosphere. That was something different than any other administrations. I would say that.
Let's go with the Hillary story now.
Yeah.
Before we move on.
Yeah.
This
is actually a big story. And in David Plouffe's book, I don't know if you read David Plouffe's book, he writes about it pretty extensively. And because he got chastised by Obama heavily after this event. And I didn't know you were involved with the event until we started working together. But I thought it was very interesting because David Plouffe and David Axelrod, after the event that you put on, were given by President Obama.
Oh, okay.
Or then candidate Obama.
Yeah. What had happened was that we put together an event at the Capitol Hill. And I also organized a fundraiser for Hillary Clinton at my home. So both places, jokingly, I said, because Hillary was so positive about Sikhs and, showed her friendliness towards the community and the issues that we face. So I said, here's a senator from Punjab. I jokingly said that Hillary, that if you were to run for an office in Punjab, you will become an elected leader of the Sikh community anytime. Yeah. So she said, I would love to be. I'm proud to be a senator from Punjab.
Oh, that's funny.
So both times that happened at my house and at the Capitol Hill. And we have, in fact, a videotape of that. So, but somehow the Obama, sort of campaign people, at the very
they dug it up during the campaign.
They started and saying, this is Hillary Clinton is more interested in doing things for India and Indians and Punjabis or whatever.
Right.
Then she would be focused on doing things for America, or that she's more focused to look after the interests of India or other communities than
there was actually Gurwin's strategy on the campaign.
I was in high school at that time, so that was not even my strategy.
So actually what the press reported was they said this is Obama's pun jab. It's a jab into Hillary Clinton, but it's a pun. So and Bill Clinton was really, really upset, and
so was Barack Obama
and Barack Obama. So I issued a statement, and Hillary Clinton campaign was kind of hushing with me
don't say anything,
whatever. So it was a good drama, and it was all over the media.
What year was this?
2008.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Punjab.
Well, let's take a break here, and we'll come back to questions. How was the Bush administration and the Obama administration, at least for Sikhs, and your time and experience with them?
Well, right after 9/11 happened, I remember getting a lot of calls from all over the country that we need to do something. That was immediately after 9/11. There were attacks on Sikhs. And I was frantically calling the White House. Until then, it had already like 6 months or 8 months had passed. I haven't had the chance to really have a point of contact at the White House.
And just a quick point.
Yeah.
Balbir Singh Sodhi and a few other hate crimes that had happened in those
Yes,
6 months.
That was on the 15th.
Right.
And the 9/11 happened on the 11th. And between 11th and 15th, I placed many calls, but I got no answer. Finally, after the 15th, I got a call, and I was in, sort of expressed how critical it was for us to have support from the president and from the White House. So I was called for a meeting, to be part of a meeting on 20th of September, where Bush had invited about 25 religious leaders from all over the country to have a private session with him. That was the day he was going to address the Congress after 9/11. So that was the very first time I got a chance to talk to Bush directly in front of other religious leaders. And the way just Vaiguru's, kirpa or blessing, I was able to narrate a couple of stories about a taxi driver in San Jose that he was attacked. His house was had a fire bottle thrown in his house, but when the press people came, he said, "I will still defend America. I will fight for America, even if I'm attacked." I narrated that story to Bush. The White House people were just stunned by the sentiment of our community. They immediately made me the spokesperson of that group which had come there. So I was given a chance to talk to the entire world press at the White House, along with 4 other religious leaders. I thought that was just a God-given opportunity for us to really show who Sikhs are. And then on the 26th of September, again, Bush invited 25 Sikh leaders from all over the country. And I was again invited, and I was made to sit on the right side of Bush. And I was the one who gave him a book on Golden Temple.
Do you remember what color your pug was that day?
Yeah.
What color was it?
I was an orange
Oh,
color.
the CNN bug?
Yes.
That was the infamous bug.
Yeah. So those are your go-to bug for big events?
Yes. And then one thing which I did, it just happened.
Yep.
I just held his hand.
Yep.
And I asked all the Sikhs to form a circle around him. And we started singing Gurbani.
Oh, wow.
Jagat Jalanda Rakh Le Apni Kirpa Tar Kirtitwar. And we started singing that in the Jefferson room right next to the Oval Office.
Oh, wow.
So it just changed the entire atmosphere. The White House people were stunned again. And Bush was really, really moved by that prayer, that blessing we did for America and for the country needed to be healed.
Yep.
So we did that. And that again provided an opportunity for us to really show that we are part of America. So that started a very close relationship with the Bush administration, and that ended up producing the first ever Sikh event at the White House in 2004. We celebrated the 400th anniversary of the Guru Nanak Sahib Prakash at the Golden Temple. So that was,
Was Bush a friendly guy in person?
He is an extremely friendly guy. I mean, he's the kind of person that you would want to spend time, anywhere, anytime, because he's down to earth. Jokingly, he will make you feel comfortable around him. He's very likable guy.
How about Obama? How do you compare it?
Obama comes across as what is reported in the press, kind of little cold-shouldered, like a professorial.
Yeah, erudite.
He doesn't come across as a very
backslapper like Bill Clinton.
Yes, Bill Clinton again. I mean, I remember meeting him several times. Each time you meet him, he treats you like he's your brother. Yeah. So that's a little different.
Right.
Obama is a very nice guy. I mean,
top 5 president.
Gerwin's biased.
Don't take me wrong. But there is a different
vibe. Yeah.
The personality is different.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Awesome. Well, thank you for digressing on all of our interests about the different various administrations. As you can tell, Gurwan and I are very politically oriented.
Yes.
It's what causes fun. But let's get back into your life and what you've done for Sikhism here in America and globally. The past few years, you've really taken a major lead in pursuing huge endeavors and causes for Sikhs across the world and really push Sikhs to become more charitable and active in our communities. My question is, what's caused you to go out there and fundraise in particular? Like, clearly you have a knack for organizing, but fundraising is kind of really something you've pushed recently. And what's driving that?
Well, I feel that the Sikh community is a very generous community.
Mm-hmm.
Once they really know that the cause is just and the person or organization which is doing this work is transparent and honest, people in our community are willing to bet on, and then they open their hearts and wallets.
Mm-hmm.
So I felt that whatever the cause that I have tried to get involved, I try to make sure that it is a genuine cause, is a just cause, and it is going to have a long-term positive impact for our community. I shy away from anything which is not practical, which is based on emotions. I try to be, I'm a very emotional guy, but I also want to be a practical person. So whether it's the Eco-Sikh, whether it's the National Sikh Campaign, or whether it's the Sikh Human Development Foundation, I feel each of these projects are really wonderful projects, and they are needed projects, and they have a long-term positive impact for our community.
Do you want to get into just the way that you use social media? Because I think it's going off the fundraising piece. Another thing that you've done very well within the community, particularly amongst what Sean and the rest of the young folks at National Sikh Campaign say is the uncles in the community, is that you've really utilized social media to your advantage. And I think it has brought your awareness and your activism to another level. So how did explain your relationship with social media? How did you build such a big audience on those pages?
Well, yeah. I'm abused by your appreciation.
Yeah.
Because that's not what I hear from my own children.
Okay. Here's the thing. Let me clarify that. Because my generation, way you use Facebook, very different. But there's no doubt there's an effect, right? Like, as organizationally, National Sikh Campaign has felt that effect. I wouldn't post in that way, but because I'm a different generation. Sean's a different generation. We're a different generation.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, it's still been effective for the people that you're trying to go after.
Yeah.
And you're never going to be cool to your kids. That's just like a tough.
That's true. That's true. Well, I think in a way you have to be shameless.
Right.
That
That's a fair way to.
Right.
Yeah, because I feel that you are here to do a job, right? And you're asking for money, you're asking for support, and you have very little time. You don't have the luxury of traveling so many miles and be available full time to do these things. Social media provides you that sort of a way of connecting with people,
mm-hmm.
long distances, and saving time and energy.
Mm-hmm.
So I felt that if there is a tool which is available, why not use it as much as possible for the advantage of the cause that we are pursuing, whether it's National Sikh Campaign or Eco-Sikh or whatever. So I wanted to inform my contacts and my friends as much as possible, as frequently as possible, whatever things or moves that we are making, so that people start relating to it. And I can see that it did make a difference. It did have it did help to create positive results.
You've done a tremendous job, especially, from Guru and I's perspective, raising funds and really allowing many Sikhs to take on these great causes. I'd like to know, in your time to service to the Sikh community, when was a time you felt defeated and you felt that maybe we're not going to be able to unite each other and do this work? And how did you overcome that feeling?
You mean during the National Sikh Campaign,
or any even your 30 years of working in activism? Was there a feeling of just defeat and thinking that maybe there is just too much division in our community that we couldn't do this?
Yeah, I mean, I felt that after the attack at the Golden Temple, and there was a very strong movement in America among the Sikhs, that we should either form a Khalistan or form our nation. And I was at the periphery of these movements, which were, there was a strong movement for Khalistan, but my practical sort of focus was that we should be talking more about the human rights violations. And I was quite heavily involved in lobbying the members of Congress about the human rights violations which were taking place in Punjab. But I was constantly kind of being sort of
at odds,
labeled as a sellout because I'm not talking about Khalistan, I'm talking about the human rights only. Or I'm talking about the self-determination, I'm not talking about a Khalistan. But I feel, and I felt at that time also, and I still feel now, that we lost our argument by not talking about human rights and talking more about Khalistan. And I felt that people are just not ready to listen. People are not just seeing the logic, that we would have more sympathy, more support from the world, from the administrations here in America and members of Congress if we had really kept ourselves focused on the human rights violations. But the moment you start bringing Khalistan or territorial disintegration of India, it changes the debate, it changes the conversation. Then you're talking about sovereignty issues, right, and foreign relations and trade and economics and all kinds of other issues take over. And then
the justice for those people is not addressed.
Yeah, and then if you infuse violence in any struggle, and that was I felt by early 90s or late 80s, I felt that this is a lost cause. We are not going to go anywhere. And ultimately, we have seen that the movement completely died. And so I felt that, and I felt that whatever I could do to change the way people were handling this issue, but just people were not ready to listen or not ready to even have a serious conversation,
right,
to create a coherent strategy to handle how our community can further its interest and really protect the people who were suffering back home.
So I think this is a perfect segue into NSC, because you then turned your attention, what it seems like in the late 80s to the 90s, where you were invited by Bill Clinton, towards the United States.
Yes, and I felt that it's really a lost cause. Try to influence the events back home by sitting thousands of miles away.
Right.
Whereas our community's long-term interests are being ignored in America.
Right.
And so when 9/11 happened, that really shook the community. And I feel that, I'm thankful to Vaheguru and thankful to Guru Nanak that we were kind of already prepared to take on the sort of the leading role in the 9/11 crisis, because by that time we had built a very strong relationship with the members of Congress, with the White House, and also with the interfaith community and with the media. So immediately, like starting from late 80s to early 90s, we were able to place ourselves very well in the American political system and the social system in Washington.
So how do you think National Sikh Campaign, which for those who don't know about National Sikh Campaign, they're listening to this, which I find hard to believe this is a National Sikh Campaign podcast, but nevertheless, National Sikh Campaign helped people understand who Sikhs are in America, raised over $1 million, ran a campaign called We Are Sikhs, made a substantive difference, also received a little bit of backlash. But can you, in the context of all that you're talking about, how did We Are Sikhs progress the agenda in the theory that you had been running on since almost the 80s?
Well, I felt was that, again, after 9/11, our community was caught in a very difficult situation. We were trying to, put ourselves together to handle the crisis. And I feel 3 crises in the last sort of 1 century, in the 20th century and the 21st century. The partition of India, where almost half of the Sikh community lost all its assets, and it was a shaking moment in our history. Then 1984, the attack at the Golden Temple. That shook the entire community. Then 9/11 really, really impacted our community, globally as well as in America. So these are colossal events, like the earth-shaking events for our community. And I felt that after 9/11, whatever efforts we have been doing as a community, that really did not change the situation. It didn't move the needle, even up to the attack at the Oakri Gurdwara. We were being reactionary. We were, the hate crimes, the discrimination. We would fight the cases in the courts. We would file the issues in the media, talk to lawmakers. But still, at large, America had no clue who Sikhs are. And that's why we felt that there was something different needed to be done. And that's how this National Sikh Campaign came into being.
Yeah, absolutely. Just, addressing what Gurwan brought up regarding some of the issues we faced at the National Sikh Campaign regarding joining the mainstream of America or becoming more assimilated into our culture or using messaging that makes us more American and having a backlash of people saying that, oh, we don't want to assimilate totally into America. That's not who we are. We're Sikhs first. How do you address those comments?
I feel that coming from the Sikh theology, Sabko meet hum apan ki na, hum sab na ke sajan, that we are here to create friendship with everybody and anybody. That is who Sikhs are. Regardless whether you're in America or England, Canada, our job is, as members of the community which belongs to Guru Nanak, we are ready to build bridges with anybody. And especially when in a land where you have been given such an opportunity, you are practicing your faith so freely, you are given such privileges that in America, the Sikh community is the most progressive and most sort of affluent community in the world. In America, the Sikhs have been able to create such a powerful influence and such powerful impact for Punjab and for Punjabis. So when you're here, when you're given so much by this land, why won't you give back and say, I am proud to be an American? I have no hesitation in saying that this is a wonderful country. Although the government or the policies of the government, they have taken certain stands which may not coincide with how the Sikh philosophy is or Sikh teachings are. But regardless, that if you are in India, that happens. Even our Sikh leaders sometimes don't follow what Sikhism talks about. Mm-hmm. So right. We should start calling ourselves not Sikhs anymore. So the point is, we in America, when we are running a campaign trying to educate Americans about who we are, we have to relate to who we are to our neighbors, to our friends, and to people who live here. We have to call ourselves, and we have to make a connection with them. We have to say, hey, whatever you believe in, we also have the same values. Mm-hmm. So that does not mean that I am kind of trying to assimilate or I would say take away my own identity or trying to dilute who I am.
Right.
In fact, when we are involved in the interfaith dialogue, when you're saying all religions should be respected, does not mean that you're saying each religion or that other religion is better than mine or my religion.
Or my religion needs to give something.
Yeah, it's just that each religion ought to be respected for whatever they stand for, rather than trying to compare or trying to say this one is superior, this is inferior. I think the same way when you're living in a country and as citizens of any land, you have to start relating to people and say, hey, we are all the same, we are all equal, and we all believe in the same values as you are. Mm-hmm. Does not mean that you're diluting yourself and trying to eliminate your own identity.
I also think we were very strategic, too, in the way we conducted the campaign. Because we were very keen on calling people in instead of calling them out. Because I think we all recognize nobody knows who we are. And that we were not going to be able to convince anybody by chastising them for their lack of knowledge. There's a lot of things I don't know about a lot of different communities.
Yeah.
Right? And we were very strategic by calling them in and saying, look, you believe in equality.
Yeah.
Right? Is an American value.
Yeah.
This equality is the foundation of Sikhism.
Yes.
And that the turban, that what many people fear, is actually a representation of values that you hold very dear.
Absolutely. And you know, the founding principles of this nation are very much, even before 9/11, I remember when we would write a pamphlet or anything, these things will be written there. Even when we were talking about the injustice that the Sikhs were facing in India, the first sentence we would say, we are Americans and we believe in the same the principles of equality, justice, and harmony, and whatever. That's the way you start the conversations. The other person can relate to you.
Right.
That is how you start the dialogue. You find the common
ground, right.
the common ground, and the common values. And this
that's how you
is
build any friendship.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you know, I just out of on top of my mind, I'm just thinking, wherever Sikhs have gone, whether it's in Canada or UK or in Australia or New Zealand or in Thailand or wherever they have gone, they have tried to integrate themselves in the local culture with the local values and the local places, and have been able to be integrate, but at the same time stand out. That's how the Sikh campaign is all about. Yeah. We are showing how we are integrated. We are part and parcel of American society, but at the same time we have a unique identity and a unique story.
Right.
Yeah. Just to build on this, and just a couple of questions about you being a modern Sikh activist, thinking about, we have a lot of work to do with raising awareness with our neighbors and externally. What do you think are the one or two challenges that we still have as a Sikh community in the United States or even in other diasporic populations that have inhibited our ability to raise awareness? What are those things that we still have to fix?
Well, I feel that we don't. Our gurdwaras are not fully equipped to provide those tools to common Sikhs. Our religious clergy or the granthis or the pracharaks who are kind of leading our religious institutions, they are not bilingual. So they are not able to translate and really provide the translations or the teachings of the Guru Granth Sahib or the teachings of the faith to the common people in the idiom which they can understand and then become equipped to communicate outside of the Gurdwara.
Are you making fun of Gurwan and I right now?
No, I feel that
it's true.
It is
very true.
Yeah, most Gurdwaras are practically catering to the needs of 40 and above.
Yeah.
So the youth is missing, and youth does not have that sense of connection with the core of the faith or the core of the who we are. Mm-hmm. So unless this gap is filled, this is not going to change, and I'm very fearful of that we have the next 15-20 years is really the most important window of opportunity we have. Mm-hmm. Because it's my generation which is going to be in the last stages of their life in the next 15-20 years. Is our community ready to kind of have the transition that the next generation is going to take over all the institutions? Are they ready to really be the leaders and fully grounded in the faith? That's something which I feel is a big challenge.
That leads me to my next question. Today, as a public figure in America, for Sikhs especially, what are some things that you want to see done by Sikhs, whether your generation or younger, in this country by the time you've retired or officially done with your activism days?
Well, I would really like to see in the next 5 to 10 years at least one member of Congress, turban-wearing member of Congress from our community. That can change the way we are seen. I would like to see a turban-wearing person be a TV anchor or a TV reporter. So turban, just like in Canada, I mean, we are elected officials there, and we have a National Minister of Defense, Sardar, fully fledged. I mean, Dalip Singh Sond is a great example. We could have Sikhs who are not wearing turban could also be running for an office, which is also important. But it just if we have a turban wearing person, it creates more awareness, and more quickly the news is sort of spreads. So I feel that something is achievable. It can be done. We've just had a mayor of Hoboken, a turban-wearing person became a mayor, and we have now Attorney General in New Jersey. So it is possible if the community and the young people start seeing that there is a possibility and start working towards that. And also I would add that we need to have more English-speaking granthis in our schools. I mean, in the gurdwaras. I'm envisioning that we have a Granthi training school here in America rather than in India.
Right.
So young people who are born and brought up here can aspire to become the Granthis, full-time Granthis.
You see it in Canada, in the UK. They have young Sikhs who are Granthis who speak English and Punjabi fluently, Gurmukhi fluently. And everything.
We need that in America.
That would make a big difference. I'm just throwing it out there because I think there's a lot of people that are interested, right? That want to have, that are very proud of their faith, Sikh faith.
Yeah.
Because they know what values we have.
Yeah.
But they can't go a level deeper because there's that gap.
Yes.
And there is a demand to go a level deeper.
Yes.
I really do believe that.
So are there any phrases or shabads from Guru Granth Sahib Ji that are your favorite, and how have you applied them to your life?
Well, of course, the founder of our faith, Guru Nanak, is my hero, because I feel that he's the world has not discovered who he is, and many Sikhs have not also discovered who he is. We know him as a founder of our faith, but we have not really gone at a deeper level to understand. He was the man who was ahead of his times. He was talking about some of the issues that we are facing now. The humanity is facing some of the issues like the gender equality and environment, and how you treat each other, how you respect each other's faith. These are some of the things that he talked about. But we have not been able to really take his philosophy and present it to the world the way Buddhism is presented,
right?
The way Christ is presented, the way Sufis are presenting Islam. Everyday people can start to relate. I mean, like Rumi is so popular. Guru Nanak's poetry is no less than Rumi's. Why have not we been able to present it in a very creative manner, in a very attractive manner? People, people.
You know what's interesting is, based off what We Are Sikhs, the We Are Sikhs campaign, and just based off like our social media reactions, I'm confident that if we went out on the stump for it, that it would resonate. Because if you think about the contemporary problems, let's just take America, right?
Yeah.
Many of those contemporary problems, Guru Nanak was talking about hundreds of years earlier.
Yes. Exactly. So the point is, so there's a beautiful line, like I often quote is Manjit Jagjit. Like if you conquer your mind, you conquer the world. It's a beautiful line by Guru Nanak. And then there's another beautiful line that I often quote is Dil Darbani Jo Kare, Dirveshi Dil Ras, Ishq Mohabbat Nan Ka Likh Hai Kar Main Karte Paas. That those who guard their own mind and keep their thoughts aligned with their own being, and he says that you will become the angels who spread love, and you bring harmony in the world. So that's the vision of Guru Nanak. I mean, he always talked about Nanak Duniya Kaisi Hui, Salik Mitna Reha Koi. Where are the true friends of humanity? I'm waiting for them. That's the kind of vision that Guru Nanak had. And that really motivates. The moment I read his Bani, it just motivates me.
Yeah, I can feel it with you right now.
Yeah, like I feel that we should be shouting on the rooftops. Hey, just like that story, by how ninth Guru was discovered. When the guy found out that he's the true Guru, he went on the rooftop and started, hey, this is the true Guru.
Yeah.
This is how the Sikhs should be shouting on rooftops. That our Guru Nanak is the savior of humanity. But we have not been able to do it. So that's what motivates me.
So what advice do you have for younger Sikhs who want to get into activism? Because particularly in this age, people want to be involved, people want to speak out, and you've had a life in decades worth of that. So what is your advice to someone that wants to get involved in activism?
Well, first, I feel that we have to get out of the victim mentality. Our community faces a lot of issues, a lot of challenges here in Punjab and other places, but we still need to think positively and Chardi Kala, and say, hey, I'm here not as a victim, but as a follower of Guru Nanak and Guru Gobind Singh. I'm here to declare to the world, how can I help? I'm here to help. I'm here to contribute and lift things up for others and for myself. So if you have that vision, it changes the way how you see yourself, how you see your own community, and how you see the world. It's just like Barack Obama could have been just talking about the issues faced by Black Americans in every day in America, and he would have ended up being nowhere. But he wanted to talk about what America, how he could bring the America together, how white and red and blue states, it does not exist. We are all Americans. So when you start bringing people together, that's where a lot of opportunities open, and that's what the world is waiting for. That's what America is waiting for. So I feel that the Sikh community have the potential of playing such a positive role. In my opinion, we are the only community which could really play a positive role because of our teachings and because of our history and perseverance, that the way we have really survived as a community. We could be the change makers. We are the change agents.
Right. We have been wherever we've gone.
Yes. So why can't we do that? But we have to get out of this victim mentality that somehow the world needs to come and help us. And we are in problem.
But we've always had the traditional mentality of going after it.
Yeah, exactly.
We always go after it.
So in the last 3-4 decades, our community leaders in Punjab or here also always talk about Panth Khatre Cha, that Panth is in danger. And that kind of riles up a lot of people. Oh, let's do something about Panth. But I feel Panth is not in danger. The Panth is always out of danger when Panth is talking about the world and how we can be the...
we're a sleeping giant.
Exactly.
Right.
Like even when there are times when half of our population was massacred on one day, but 6 months later we conquered Lahore and we've established our first kingdom. That's the history of the Sikh community.
Right.
So if a young person starts seeing himself or herself as a person who is here to make a difference, the whole thing changes. And I think our identity is of no impediment, of no barrier, if we really want to achieve something.
Yeah. On a personal level, I think both for Gerwin and I, something that's so admirable about you is your ability to balance and multitask among a lot of different competing causes and time. You have a lot of things happening. You're a very busy man. It's hard to get you on the phone. As someone who's a successful dentist, family man, activist, and community leader, what's your secret for people like us who, are just coming into our adult lives and trying to figure it all out?
I think really ardas. You have to pray and ask for Guru's guidance and really keep Gurbani at the heart of your whatever you're trying to achieve. I think reading and knowing your history and reading and knowing Gurbani really helps to kind of handle some of the challenges and issues that we face. as an individual, as a family person, as a business person, as a community leader. There are a lot of challenges, and but I often joke with my kids that hey, my beard has gotten white because of the stress that have come in my life because of you being raised as kids from teenagers to the adults.
Yeah.
They said no, this white beard is
self-inflicted.
Self-inflicted because of all the things that you do, and especially National Sikh Campaign.
That's great. And by the way, Dr. Rajwant has a beautiful wife who's a child psychiatrist,
yes,
and 2 beautiful children,
yes,
who can dance and sing.
Yes.
Very talented family.
I actually got a few white hairs because of National Sikh Campaign last year.
Yeah, I did too. So
I actually legitimately
I never used to believe, but then people started saying Obama's hair got white.
Stress,
yeah.
So
well, actually, let's conclude here. We were talking about NSC earlier. We just got back to it. What was it in the decades of work that you were doing? How would you categorize NSC? How would you categorize in the context of all the things you were talking about, working to build awareness?
I felt that NSC is the best project I've ever gotten involved in, because I felt that this was very scientific. It was based on research. It was based on data. It was targeted, and we had the help of some of the best minds and best talented people in the American political fields and marketing fields. So we have never, as a community in our 500 years of history, we have never ever gone out to really seek the best talent. I believe that if Guru Nanak was here today, he would do the same. He would use Facebook, he would use Twitter, he would do anything to get his message across. And we are doing exactly what our community should be doing. When we are so small and we have the resources, but we don't have the mechanism to put our information out or put our point across, there is nothing wrong in employing and sourcing out and getting the best talented people to work for you. Any corporation does it, any business does it. Why not our community?
Right. And the other thing people should know is that the people that worked with us on this, they don't just work with anybody.
Yes.
They're making enough money.
Yeah.
And they're not getting a lot of money from us, but
yes,
despite how much money they're not turning their lights on and paying their bills because of National Sikh Campaign.
Absolutely.
They're doing it because they were passionate
yes,
about what our cause was, and they're doing it because they actually believed in our message, which is really Guru Nanak's message.
Yes, and I remember when you told me that Bill Clinton's speechwriter who did the editing for the National Sikh Campaign's website, the We Are Sikhs website, for no charges. That itself showed, it brought tears in my eyes, because this guy has nothing to do with Sikh faith, nothing to do with the Sikh community, and he is offering his services for free to help us as a community. How, he's practically living what Guru Nanak would be teaching us. So that's, I feel, is the strength of the National Sikh Campaign, that we were able to attract people to do things, to spread our message with passion. Yeah. And they become, entrenched members of our faith community, like helping us. Yeah.
So what's next for NSC? Guru and I could talk about it. We'd love to hear it from your words.
Well, I feel that next year we are celebrating 550th birth anniversary of Guru Nanak. I feel that we have an opportunity to really create, awareness about Guru Nanak, and in turn it will create awareness about our faith also. So we should have a very well-designed strategic plan to do major marketing on Guru Nanak for the next year and a half, because it's just, we can anchor so many things related to his 550th anniversary. And also, I feel that we should really have some sort of an engagement with the Hollywood, or with the art world, or so we can sort of popularize the Sikh identity and the Sikh community in the common culture. So I think those are some of the things which we can do this year.
A lot of great content coming from the National Sikh Campaign.
Yeah.
Anything on EcoSikh you want to touch on?
Yes, I feel that the world is facing a major crisis, major threat with the climate change. And we being the 5th largest religion, what is our role in this? What is the point of having a religion? A religion is there to connect us with our Creator, but also connect us with everything around us. And everything around us is people, animals, nature. So how are we connecting? What kind of relationship we have? And Guru Nanak reminds us, Pavan Guru Pani Pita Mata Tart Mahat, that you should consider water as father, earth as mother, and air as your guru, as your teacher, which means having a positive and respectful relationship with these wonderful gifts of nature. So if you don't care for water, air, and land, ultimately you are cutting down your own roots. So that's where I feel the Sikhs have a major, again, a contribution to make. As followers of Guru Nanak, who always reminded that nature is a teacher, nature is a manifestation of Vaheguru, of God. So you practically, and secondly, I feel 80% of the world population, Sikh world population, lives in Punjab. We are the only religious community which is concentrated in one geographical area. We are not yet a major international religion, as although we 3, 4, 5 million Sikhs or 6 million Sikhs live all around the world, but 80% of our total world population is concentrated in one region, and that region is in danger. Right now it's losing water. It has major chemical laden land and water and air, and in the next 30, 40 years our population could be wiped out. So if we don't take action, if we don't do something now, it's going to impact our community, the greatest than any other community. So that's why that motivates me, that EcoSikh is a way to engage people and say, hey, we need to change our ways, protect the land, and really save it for the future generations. Yeah. So that's what, and we were able to, this provided an opportunity for us to be on the table with the United Nations, with the World Bank, with the White House, with the French government, with the Italian government, with the UK government. They wanted faith communities to be part of the climate change issues or environmental issues. And if you don't have a Sikh sitting in a table, then we are missing the bus. So this again opened up a door, just like Interfaith opened up a door for us to play a role in America and the White House and 9/11 and all that. EcoSikh is again providing us an opportunity to be engaged in the wider world, where Sikhs have never been really given a serious presence.
So besides spreading awareness of Sikhs throughout the West and saving the world from climate change, anything else you want to add?
Last words.
Any other issues that you want to solve?
No, I mean, there are.
I don't think it's enough, Uncle. I think you're really slacking.
You need to add on another cause.
Well, the Sikh Human Development Foundation is another one of my major pet projects that we are trying to help all the poor children of Punjab to become educated, so they can become professionals and they can become, contributing members of the society. So that also requires a lot of fundraising, a lot of awareness. A lot of young people need help in Punjab and in northern Indian states. So I could go on and on. I mean, there's so many positive stories, but we've seen the practical results of those people receiving funds and changing their lives and becoming professionals. So it just fulfills one's dream of what one could do.
Well, this has been great. I can't thank you enough for taking the time to speak with us. The We Are Sikhs podcast is really trying to talk to a lot of great people like yourself, understand your story, understand how you want to improve the world. And, this has been an incredible conversation. I want to thank you And I hope that we can continue this further and do it again some other time.
I really thank you, because I feel that if I did not have the partnership and a working relationship with young people like you, very talented young people like you, this project would not have gone anywhere. Because I could do fundraising, I could speak, but when it comes to practical sort of day-to-day nitty-gritties of running a campaign, running an organization, I'm very poor in that. So this was a wonderful team, and I felt that this would not have gone anywhere if we did not have a really a wonderful, strong team. And you guys really played a key role.
Shout out to Sumit, Sandy, Jas, Jeevan, and all the Paul and Jimmy and everybody else.
Just Veer. There's so many others that we probably are forgetting, and I'm so sorry for that.
Right.
Yes.
But thank you, Uncle. You do so much. Just hearing about it is making my dari chutti.
Hey everyone, thanks for listening. If you like the show, please rate and review the podcast on iTunes, subscribe to Sikh Meets World on your favorite podcasting platform, and share it with your friends and family. Stay tuned for our next episode, which comes out next month, and of course, be sure to check out the National Sikh Campaign website for more information.